You're listening to The Janchi Show, hosted by 3 Korean American adoptees diving headfirst into what it means to be adopted, Korean, American, and more. And now, here's your hosts, Nathan, Patrick, and KJ.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Janchi Show. Welcome to The Janchi Show. This is The Janchi Show. It's your boys KJ, Nathan, Patrick here again, finally for a new episode after what has been many weeks apart. Fellas, how you doing?
Good.
It has been about 4 weeks apart because we did just see each other in person 4 weeks ago.
Yep,
For the fourth time.
Is that 4 altogether?
4. That's what I counted. Yeah, 4 years, once a year. That's the fourth time.
Nathan's
So,
like
in person.
for the fourth be fourth you.
I mean, if we ever see each other twice in a year, then it'll be crazy. Because, yeah, that'll change the numbers. But
Unless
yeah.
we see each other twice in a year and then skip the next year
Sure.
because they're like, we just saw
Good,
you.
good point, yes. And we've
So.
seen each other maybe individually as well. But,
Yeah, I think there are some individual times in there for sure.
yeah. But who's counting?
You are apparently.
Apparently you are. You have a tally on your hand.
You have the tally.
I get a new tattoo every time. No.
Well, folks, thanks for joining us for this meandering, catching up, finding our rhythm again episode of the Janchi Show. Nathan, would you, if people are just listening to the show for the first time and this is their first episode, would you explain to our listeners what Janchi means and why we call ourselves the Janchi Show?
Sure, we are the Janchi Show because Janchi means to feast, and we are. You kind of used it as like a celebration term as well, and also banquet. So we just take that in interpretation as a time to get together and celebrate our identities and our past stories and history and culture and new discoveries, and then we feast on a food or snack at the end when we have those available. And they're not expired.
What?
Or what am I saying? We still eat them when they're expired.
That's true. Yeah, if it
you
smells good, it's fine. Most of the snacks that we eat are heavily processed, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we it's funny. I'm like, I love our name and I love like our logo and our brand, but as we do this show longer, I'm like, I feel like this gets like further and further away from what we're actually doing these days. But yeah, still a good time. Mostly we just
Sure.
chat and talk intersectional identity stuff. I went to Con for the first time about a month ago.
Yay.
We were all together. And that was a wild time. I don't know. I'm curious for the two of you as seasoned veterans. How was your experience at the Con conference up in Chicago, which is a adoptee focused conference?
I don't know if I'd call myself a seasoned veteran. Thought it was a good experience. I posted about it a little bit and wrote about it a little bit, but I always enjoy being in a room full of adoptees. I think it is a powerful experience for sure. And I appreciated a year out from my first in-person experience being able to share that with Emily and with Van. Shout out to everybody who made them feel very welcome and who came up and looked at our kid but didn't touch them. I appreciated that.
Shout out to the
that
looks,
is
no touches.
something that we've been dealing with lately with random strangers, older women who like to come up and touch babies, apparently. So I appreciated that.
Side note, did you like when people were like, oh, is that Van? Like, did people ask or like, did you preemptively say like, please don't touch? Or was there just like a, no, we don't need to touch your baby situation?
No, generally people come up and just touch. They don't ask. We don't try to preempt and say no. Like, it's kind of hard because you can't tell. You don't want to just assume that they're going to come up and pinch the cheeks or touch the
so
face.
I meant like at Con though. Like, did we all
no,
please don't?
Nobody. We didn't have to preempt, and I didn't feel like anybody
was like grabbing towards the baby.
And I feel like that kind of physical touch is something I think adoptees understand at a different level of being like, oh, like physical touch without consent. I think understand it at a different level. And so if they were going to try and hold him or touch him, I think that there would have been, hey, is that okay if I hold him or whatever that might be? Which is what happened at dinner on Friday night. I think Alicia and Leah both asked before if they could hold him. So.
Oh, yeah. I also said that I should hold your baby because Sarah would be disappointed if I didn't. And then I didn't end up holding the baby.
Yeah, but you got the quick pick. So
I did. And I asked for Van's consent. And for Van's consent asked you for his consent on his behalf.
Yeah. But that's the other thing is like he can't give consent for something like that. And that's one of the reasons I've been very adamant about not sharing publicly on social media like at all. But yeah, I mean, aside of all of that, I thought it was a really good experience the Saturday I was there for sure.
Yeah. And you are also a speaker for the main stage. So
I did speak. I forgot.
How was that? Jeez. I already forgot. How did you feel with that? Because, I know you do more main stage stuff than KJ and I do. I had a small one on Sunday, but for me, when I speak in front of crowds, I'm fairly nervous, especially talking about, well, I wasn't talking about adoption related things this time. I was just talking about, company or stuff that, con related topics. But for you were talking about adoption related stuff. How was that in front of adoptees versus doing, I think you typically do more stuff in like AAPI spaces.
Yeah. I think at the very beginning, I did feel a little bit nervous, not because of the crowd or who I was speaking to, but because of the people I was speaking with. To be on stage with Glenn and Kira. I've done stuff with Sana before, but I just feel like both Kira and Glenn are very well spoken. They're both like, I would consider experts in the fields that they operate in, because they've been doing it for a long time. And for me, any longevity runs smack dab into the wall of 2020. So like everything that I do is not as seasoned as most people that I find myself on stage with in a situation like that. But once we got the first couple questions out of the way, I felt pretty good. And I think honestly, last year, at Con, Glenn and I and Ostrid Castro from Adoption Mosaic, we all sat for like 4 hours in the lobby and had like the longest conversation. And I think when I think back to that moment, that really, I felt like I kind of drew on that as I was on stage sitting next to Glenn, because I felt like it was more of a peer thing as opposed to being like, I'm in awe of this person sitting next to me. Kira, I've had the privilege of being able to meet multiple times in person, and I consider a friend. I consider Glenn a friend as well. It's just, I don't know, there's some like reverence in the way that he's told story, particularly within our community. And to just be sitting up there, not only trying to speak from my own experience and the mediums that I operate in to adoptees, but alongside people I consider to be, titans within our community, was where I felt like the nerves came in. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought that from my vantage point, everyone seemed pretty engaged in our conversation. And I hope that it went and meshed seamlessly with some of the other sessions that were going on that day, because I feel like, especially talking to Kira and then going to KJ and Jonathan's session, I felt like there was some overlap in terms of like theme and what we were hoping to do and with expression. So overall,
I thought you did a good job. Yeah,
thank you.
I liked listening to it. I thought you all were very well spoken and vibed well together. I mean, this, for those who don't know, this year's con theme was representation and visibility, and so you guys were all talking from different spaces of media, and I thought that was really cool how it all kind of came together and how each of you had your own point of views. But it was for me, I guess con was a lot of behind the scenes stuff, because I was on the planning committee, and so a lot of it was me running around doing some things here and there, making sure just stuff that we had to do were being done. But most of the part was still enjoying the people, the community. A lot of it was already planned, and there was nothing much we could do. You had a lot of really good volunteers, and everybody was doing their thing. So I think it ran pretty seamlessly, and enjoyed seeing all the people that I haven't seen in person, but yet I've talked to on Zooms over the last year, and of course meeting new people, which is always is a fun thing for me. I really enjoy talking to people and getting their stories or their perspectives, or making a new friend with connecting a face to a name that maybe I've only spoken to online. And then, of course, hearing all the stories afterwards, because I know a lot of people thought that con was amazing for their first time, or amazing because they got to do a lot of the same stuff, got to attend a lot of really good sessions and meet all these new people, and they enjoyed it. But then I also heard perspectives of other people who were still very nervous about going, and still nervous afterwards when they came home. So there was definitely a range of stories, and just like our own adoption stories, right? There's a range, and just hearing those and hearing people express their voices that way, I think to me was really special.
Are you interested in taking off the worker hat and just being an attendee at some point? Because I feel like last year you were working as like the photographer. I feel like it was less official, but you were still working essentially, and you had to like be moving around a lot. This year I felt like you were 3x all of that, because you're basically heading up the thing. And I was thinking about all of the cons that have been. I feel like even the one in Denver, I don't know if you were a participant so much as you were like, oh, I'm hosting this side dinner, and like I'm going to be involved in X ways. I didn't know if you were ever interested in just being like, I just want to go and not have to be like running around.
Sometimes, I mean, I did attend some sessions, but I feel there were definitely sessions that I probably would have attended, but are things that I don't know. I feel like I'm all along in my adoption story far enough that it's not that I'm not wanting to hear what people are saying or people are talking about, but it's that I'm in my story, I'm in a comfortable spot for where I feel I'm at. And so not that I don't want to learn more, because you can always learn more. You can always hear, other people's stories or other people's experiences. But sometimes I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of hearing more stuff about things that I'm like currently have other responsibilities for. I want to concentrate on those, because for me to concentrate on organizing the event and making it a good event is more important than me hearing a few more stories that may enrich my own story and stuff like that. So I will get to that.
Your cup is full enough now that you don't need to.
Nathan has been enriched enough. Okay, if you baked him, he'd be a delicious brioche bun.
Not to say that I don't want a bigger cup. I mean, I am going to continue to still go to sessions in the future, and I'm still, meeting new people and talking about other things. But but for now, my organization and just doing the things that I do for Con is in my mind more important.
For sure.
No, it's good to hear y'all's perspectives, and I mean, this is not like I don't want this to exclusively just be like a what you missed if you didn't go to Con kind of podcast, but just interesting, like thinking through my own experience through it. But I think the most surprising thing to me, and I'm sure this literature exists, but one thing that stood out to me during the conference and then after the conference that are somewhat related is during my session, I asked people, the attendees, like, oh, does everyone here know what the language of like the fog is, or know like what out of the fog is? And one or two people were like, no, I don't. So like the majority of the room did, and some of them didn't. And I was just struck again, like obviously our show tries to be a bridge that's always looking back and forwards, and not like leaving people behind and providing people new language and all those kinds of things. Like we're trying to do a lot here. And it was like, oh, I have a lot of things to say that assume that you already know that language, and I don't want to assume that you already know that language as a speaker. So that was just kind of an interesting moment. And then like personally, after Con, I was not prepared for the for lack of a better phrase, like post-con blues, if you will. I am very familiar, like in religious terms, like when I would go to like a summer camp or a retreat or whatever, and like have my great time, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd be like on a spiritual high, and then like you crash down because like you go back to school or life continues or whatever, and then you're like, I don't know, now I'm all sad that I'm not like still at that retreat or still at that camp or whatever. So I'm like very familiar with it in a religious sense, but I'm not at all familiar with it with an adoptee sense, or I am. I don't even know if I am, because like even for our live shows, it feels different. So I think here, being a pure participant, I did not expect the crashing down from the conference, and I'm sure people have written about it. And I don't know if there's like a not a support group, but like, hey, just so you know, this is a common thing, or if anybody else even feels that. I don't know. Like, have y'all experienced that with this or previous cons or other adoptee or even like identity meetup event type things?
I mean, I think going to Korea was definitely something like that, but
Yeah.
I feel like I felt that way for most of my life when I would go do stuff and then leave, like go to a camp or go to anything, kind of like you were saying. You come off that high and you feel like you'll probably like never get that back again. I think I never thought about it until you just used those examples and brought it up in this moment. But like, I think that was part of my struggle, was just chasing this feeling of, I felt like I fit into this group, and it probably felt that way because it was such a finite amount of time.
Yeah.
Whereas I had friends going home, but then like the whatever it was, microaggression, whatever it might be, was just kind of ingrained, baked in. So it was just like I would just go back and fall into that. But I think ever since starting all of this, for sure, every time you do something, or every time I do something, it's like, oh, I wanted to keep having that conversation. The reason Clubhouse, we had 4-hour conversations is because nobody wanted to leave. And because you felt that feeling, of like, oh, this is what I've been missing. And then when you leave it, it's like, oh, I can't wait to get back on Clubhouse the next day so I can spend another 5 hours.
Especially because like we were all quarantined, so it was like we're not even seeing anybody. Yeah.
But for sure, I definitely think a lot of people feel that, especially within our community, coming to a large event like this, and over the past 2 years, watching it break the record number of adoptees who have attended. That's just, again, like Nathan was saying, more and more experiences coming in who are leaving feeling like, oh, I want to explore my own local area, or leaving feeling like, oh, I want to go back to Chicago where all that stuff was happening. And I felt that connection. I think you're not alone in feeling that, for sure. I think a lot of people have.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people who come are newcomers. They've never been to con. And so they might not know what to expect as far as the after post-conference blues, because they've never been in a community of that many adoptees. And so they may have heard of it. So I think there's a lot. It's going to go with both. And not to say that people who have been to many cons don't feel that way, because I did. I found myself actually checking the app, like Discord channels and everything. Yeah. I literally was checking them every day for like new topics. And I was more lurking. I wasn't like commenting on them, but I was more lurking and watching what people were talking about and what they were sharing and what they were, they were doing. And yeah, sure, there was a few people asking me for photos, but for the most part, it was, hey, what's going on? Are you guys, interested in hanging out again and things like that, and doing a Zoom? And so there was a lot of people still interested in hanging out and seeing more people that they had met. And so it's, I definitely felt like I still needed to be connected. And then, because I have friends here, I have adoptee friends out here in Colorado. I wanted to get together with them and just explain, how the conference went and things like that. But I'd rather do that with them than some of my friends who are not adoptees. And so that's something that I was finding hard to wrestle with, is because I was seeing more of my friends that were non-adoptees right when I got back. We'd go play golf or we'd go do poker or things like that. But, and they would ask me about the conference, and I'm still friends and I would talk to them about it, but it wasn't like I wanted to open up and go deep about everything that happened. Just, I don't know. It was a weird feeling of not wanting to share too much to them. Not that they wouldn't understand, but in a way they probably wouldn't understand.
Well, you have to do that extra lifting of like, oh, I have to explain this. And then they're like, oh, what does that mean? It's like, well, now I have to explain this. And then it's like, we talk about a lot, you get into a room full of people who share an identity or community and they're like, oh, we get it. So then you don't have to do all of that extra backwards. You can just go forward.
Yeah. I mean, they all knew I was going to an adoptee conference, so they all knew what it was and everything. But yeah, it was, I'm seeing a couple friends this weekend. And so that'll be nice that I can actually talk. Actually, well, I guess I'll see KJ in a couple days too. So,
wait, is this coming out on Wednesday?
Yes.
So you see him today?
I mean, yeah.
You see him tonight.
Well, we will be together.
I will see.
We should have waited
when this episode drops.
We should have waited so you guys could have recorded in person together.
I mean, we can also do that. That's fine.
That's true.
Yeah, we can.
If you're free Wednesday, we can. I've got enough mics. We can do it.
Live drop next episode.
So.
But yeah, no, I'm excited to of course see KJ and also some of my other friends this week. Because I felt like I've been really deep in like family visits and other things since con and getting the kids going and this and that. So I haven't really. I got busy with other things to keep my mind occupied. So.
You said you're like in the post-conference blues. Have you had time, KJ, to like decompress with folks after having done not only been a participant at con in person, but also presented? Have you had a chance to do that, or did you come home and it's like, okay, we're gonna have a baby in 1.5 months now, so I gotta be focused on that?
Yeah. So since I got home, it has been a lot. It's been let me pull my calendar, but it's been like we got back and then the next week was our baby shower. And then the next weekend was our baby shower. The next weekend was the next day was our Father's Day cookout party with my family. And then the next weekend, so July 7th, was our maternity photo shoot. And then that Wednesday was my birthday and Sunday was Sarah's birthday. So we did like celebrations. And then this past week, as of recording, my father-in-law was like, hey, I'm in town Wednesday. Y'all free for dinner? And like on Tuesday.
Classic.
So we're like, oh, okay. And then also Sarah's work had a baby shower that I went to. And then also a friend of the show, Juliet Kim, was in town selling Jinsa and all the stores. I like met up with her. And now we are recording. So...
And don't forget the computer global shutdown too.
That didn't affect me, but that did affect a lot of people. Yeah.
I was going to say that affected a lot of my friends and just places that I was trying to go to, actually.
Yeah. So just from also my grandmother was in town this weekend. So literally today I had brunch with her. That was another unexpected visit. So it's been a lot to just go through all of that. It's been a lot to go directly from con into all of those things. And leading up to con, I was out of town with Sarah's college friends, and like, so it's just been like thing after thing after thing. So it's been pretty nonstop. A lot of it's been baby related, and a lot of it has just been like life related. So I think, Nathan, to your point, it's been like a lot of like stuff where I don't want to explain being adopted. I don't want to explain, like people were like, oh, what were you in Chicago for? I was like, oh, I was there for an adoptee conference. End of discussion. Next topic. Like, it wasn't like oh, how was it? I was like, yeah, it was good. End of discussion. Move on. So that was just kind of interesting. Being, I guess, just in that space and thinking through that. So, and in the middle of that, I think I texted y'all and I was like, all I want to do for my birthday is go out to Korean barbecue with you guys. And I think that's like partially like because we left on Friday and did that and did our own thing at con, instead of the con thing, the adoptee dinner on Friday. That was really fun just to be with adoptees, but not have to talk about adoptee things. And but Nathan, you weren't there, so I was like, it's not even like a proper Janchi hang. So I was like, oh man. But it was just like, I think I was just like wasn't prepared to be thrust back into, I got to do the whole code switching thing again. Like that was a lot. And so, that just kind of became a lot. And then like through my like maternity photo shoots, mine, that I was also in some of the photos of, I was just like sad the whole time. And so like, we just got our photos back today and I was like, I mean, like they're very pretty and I'm very happy with how a lot of them turned out, but I also see myself, I'm like, but I couldn't really fully be in pure joy mode because I was sad. So like the most I could muster is like a soft smile. And so just like figuring out how to be a sad boy and figure out how to do that well and also live life was interesting. So I feel like I've had a time to debrief the conference generally. I wrote a whole blog post about it. But I don't know that I've like successfully moved back into the rigmarole of everyday life with white people or with non-adoptee people, but mostly with white people who are also not adoptee people.
Is it a going back to the rigmarole, or is it I will not go back into that space now because I don't want to? Even if I have to navigate it, I won't enter it in the same way that I did previously.
No, I mean it is the same way as I did previously because I feel like I think I know what you're saying, but I feel like I've done I navigate the way I want to these days. Like I've done that mental work. So now it's just like, now I'm just back in it. Like I'm more aware of the code switching now. So it's actually a heavier mental load to do that because I'm like, I know what I'm about to go through.
For sure.
If that makes sense. So it's just like, ugh.
That makes 100% sense. I just hung out with some friends that I grew up with this past weekend that I honestly were all my really, really good friends up until probably recently. But we hadn't seen each other in a long time. And I told Emily right before I left, I was like, I feel kind of nervous. And it wasn't because I was like, oh, I haven't seen you guys in a long time or whatever, but it was because like I'm a more mature person than I ever have been. And there are certain things that I don't compromise on anymore that I would have in the past. And I found myself at multiple points in time being like, like, do I push here? Do I not push here? And for the most part, I chose to withhold because I felt kind of unsafe. Like, I felt safe being around my friends because I know them and I know their personalities. But I also felt unsafe in a way that, like, I felt like the person I am now would want to touch on these things. And I feel like I can't. And that felt kind of strange. I talked to Emily about it, like navigating those two opposing forces. But also I found myself being like, oh, I think I've had enough for today. And I'm done. Like once we got to a certain point. And it didn't have to be a whole thing. It didn't have to be like a blow up or nobody had to get in a fight or whatever. But it was just like
I got to go take care of my kid now.
Well,
Bye.
it was like we lucked out because one of the things we did was right next to my house. So I'm just like, I'm just going to go back over here. And then I was just like, they were going to get dinner. And I was like, I might come back over. And I was just like, I'm not coming back over. So, well, I mean, I had a good time, but it was just I don't know. It was just.
It's different.
Yeah, it is very different for sure. Yes. Sorry, you just kind of jogged that. I just feel like I went through that, felt like the exact same thing just 2 days ago. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, no, it's super different. And I like, it's the same thing of like, I don't know, even when I got my, like the last things that my mom was holding on of my stuff in her house. She just dropped that off today. And some of that had like my yearbooks and like my Nathan, you'll probably chuckle because you'll be able to see this. My high school Letterman jacket, and like all those things, and it was my books when I was studying Korean. It was my my like my printed stack of like chord charts that I'd printed from online around like worship music and all this stuff. And I was like, I was such a different person in high school. And if I like more so than just like, oh yeah, like we've changed. I mean, like deeply to my core, very different. And I was like, if I were to hang out with any of my high school friends today, I'd be like, I am basically a stranger to you. And so like we have this shared experience, but I'm basically a stranger. And that's like, it's like fun, I guess, but I've also got a lot of sadness around like, not that I have changed, but that I have changed, like not for the change. Like I think the change overall is good, but it's just like the changes happen generally. So it's like, if I were to hang out with my high school friends, I've got like a lot of sadness because like I used to be this person and we used to have a good time and like some weird nostalgia mixed in with that. But then also like, I'm not that person. I don't want to be that person anymore. But like, yeah, it becomes really weird really quickly.
Yeah.
I've always dreaded going back to, because the only 10-year or the only high school reunion I've been to is my 10-year high school reunion. I haven't been to the 20, and my 30 is coming up. Sorry to age myself. But
we weren't going to say anything
to yourself.
You guys are shaking your heads.
No, we weren't.
No.
we were shaking them because we knew you were about to apologize for some reason.
But yeah, and just it's weird. Like I don't know what to talk to. There's a few people though that I have kept in touch with, or through Facebook and everything on social media, that I know would understand a lot of what I have gone through and the changes that have been in my life. That's one of the minimal positives of social media is that they do kind of catch up a little bit on that stuff. You don't have to explain it to people that you want to explain it to, at least, I guess. So yeah.
Well, I think one of the hard things has been just realizing, like, I don't need. Well, I have a couple friends still who will genuinely listen, and it's not that I need you to understand my experience. I just need you to hear me and then not respond with some sort of judgment or like make light of it. Just be like, oh, okay. Like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, just to listen, just to listening. And I feel like that's something that's also been a struggle, part of the struggle with like letting go of old things, particularly people, is just this sense of like, they're not going to listen fully in this conversation. And that might not be for any fault of their own. There could be a lot of other things that have caused that to happen. But I think that's part of that sadness for me in terms of like, what does it mean to let go of these things? In a like that this weekend kind of showed me is just that, at a certain point, there will be some people that would be able to listen and be able to respond in a way that is like constructive, or at least not detrimental to myself and potentially both of us. But there are some people who aren't going to be willing to do that. And I think for the longest time, as I rejected my identity, that was the biggest thing, was can no one hear me? It's like, I'm clearly talking, but it's like I'm screaming in a box and nobody else is in the box with me and nobody can hear what I'm saying. And now it's like, I'm finally realizing, oh, I've gotten out of the box now. I'm in this room with all these people who can hear me, but there are some people over here who can, but aren't listening and don't want to. And they don't have to be in this group over here. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. So I totally get what you're saying. Like, it sucks, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just, it's just an extra mental load. And I think that's why I was like, I want to, like, what? I don't remember what piece of content I was listening to. It was, okay. So I recently, I finished this book, and I'm gonna pull the author up because the book is incredible. It's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. And actually,
everybody loves that book. One of the top 100 books of the 21st century.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I didn't look at the list.
That list just came out.
Yeah. So Gabrielle Zevin, which I think of as like a spiritual sibling to Pachinko, actually, just like the way that it's written and the way that it kind of flows through. Like, but it's like younger because it's like from it's like a 30-year period, so from like 6 to 36, whatever. The point is, it's a really good book. Check it out. But there's one moment where, as the characters have aged, they're like, oh, we're the age now where all we do is like we see old friends, and like when they come into town. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So, but I think that there's just like for me, what I was feeling, what I still feel, and what I'm looking forward to hopefully kind of rectifying tonight, again, if you're listening to to this episode when it drops, is the opportunity to hang out with some new friends who see me where I am right now, to not have to talk about anything in particular, but just be like, this is who I am, and not be like, oh yeah, so my adoptee identity, blah blah blah, and whatever, and any of that kind of stuff. And I think that there are some friends in my past who, like you said, Patrick, who listen to the show, who can kind of get it, and that's also fine. But there's like almost in some ways like too much history and too much baggage that while it's great for other things, I'm like, I can't just like mentally let my hair down for this moment. Like I just want to drink soju and like enjoy taking shots with friends and not getting that drunk because soju doesn't have that much alcohol in it, and like all that, like just all that kind of stuff. Like so it was just the opportunity to let my brain relax, like truly relax. And I think that while the benefit of the show and our friendship and 2020 and all of that stuff, con, etc., is we can meet people and be in spaces where we can do that. The downside is we are not all in places where we can do that regularly.
Right.
And I think that makes it really difficult to be back in the rigmarole. And whether you are struggling to find yourself or you have found your newest self and are just living life through that, it's still hard to not have like in-person community. Because even like now thinking about like, oh, let's set up like a Zoom call once a month. Like that's nice, but that's not like sharing a meal together. Yeah. That's not like watching a movie together. That's not playing a game together. I mean, I guess you could play some games on Zoom, which maybe I should figure that out. But synchronicity is good. In-person synchronicity is even better when we're looking for community, and why I'm beginning to understand why that in-person stuff on a more regular basis is so important.
And I have heard that has happened. I do know a lot of people who have met at con and become good friends with a local CADs and adoptees that are in their neighborhood and vicinity. That's one of the things that I think is great while you're at con, is that you can find people that are from your vicinity and go get dinner or lunch or something with somebody, and you may not get along with them 100%, but hey, at least you tried. And sometimes you do. Sometimes you make really new friends. Sometimes you make more than a friends. I know there are people that became partners from this meeting at con, and so I think that's amazing. So just the fact that you go out and you try, you go find new people that you can relate to. I agree is very special. Something kind of what you also said is the history too of with older friends, like the friends that you've made a long time ago. I think maybe a lot of people dwell on those old memories, that nostalgia, like you said, and that's what they want to talk about, not anything new. Yeah. Not, you might touch on it, say, hey, you started doing this or something. That's cool. But sometimes
living in the past
there. Yeah. You go back to the past. You go back to talking about things that you did in college or fraternities or high school. And that's just not, for me at this moment, not what I really want to talk about. It's not the deep stuff. And so that's why sometimes I hold more value in the friends that I've made in the last 4 or 5 years versus the friends that I made, 20 years ago.
That is a good ass call, Nathan. That is very good call.
So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all my new friends. I love the fact that I probably could talk about anything with you guys, or with some of the friends that I have made.
Anything
since these things, I pretty much could talk to you guys about anything, but I don't know.
I thought KJ was going to jump in with something, but while he's looking, I'm going to say something real quick. I had a joke that came up when you said sometimes people
wait. I hope this is a dad joke.
Sometimes people make more than a friend at con. You said they make, people have met partners that way. And I'm like, yeah, people make more than a friend at con. They meet family, their siblings, because, we don't know that we're all potentially related. That could be an adoptee joke.
You
right?
never know. You could meet your biological sibling.
That's true, actually.
I did receive a calendar of dad jokes from my dad. Emily was immediately furious because there's literally one for every single day of the calendar year.
I approve.
There were some that were actually funny, but
my sister-in-law and her partner gave me a book of dad jokes, and I was so angry. It also made me laugh, and I was like, "This is actually meant for Sarah," because I've determined that Sarah is the dad joker of the family.
That's hilarious.
Just embrace it, guys. Just embrace it.
Oh, I made a dad joke the other day, and I turned to Emily as we were walking away to somebody, and we were walking away, and I go, "Why am I my dad now?" I was furious. Ugh. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up like this idea of Nathan, you were talking about like nostalgia and living in the past and all that kind of stuff. I was listening to another book that I think is really fantastic by Amanda Montell. It's called The Age of Magical Overthinking. And she was quoting she was quoting John Koenig, I think is his name. And he created this word called avenoir, the desire to see memories in advance. And he talks about the quote is, life moves forward, but you're facing backwards. You can see where you've been, but not where you're going. So the idea of like we move through life like a rower in a boat. Life moves forward, you're facing backwards. You can see where you've been, not where you're going. Your boat is steered by a younger version of you. And I just thought that was so interesting, especially given all of the change that we have gone through as adoptees, but also just like as the three of us have gone through. But yeah, like nostalgia being, to me, feels like a way of capturing the desire to see memories in advance. Like, I don't know, like it's just so interesting. Like nostalgia plays an important part. And like, on the one hand, I'm very tired of it. On the other hand, like it's so necessary, like just for us to move through the world, like especially in America in 2024, it is a weird time to be alive and to be a thinking political human being, let alone being a citizen of the world, and be a thinking political human being. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just was so interested in that, and the idea of like life moving forward, but you're facing backwards, and like the younger version of you is what steers like the direction of your life. Yeah, I don't know. That was just really interesting, and I think that's like something for me to ponder more as I think about what it means to be all of my identities. Which, to bring it back, maybe to put a final cap on it. At Con, that was one of the first times that I was able to be pictured in a photo as a like identity group of like disabled people. And that was really cool and really powerful, because like previously, it was like at a hand camp put on by my hospital so that like all of their hand patients could figure out how to do things, and so that was just interesting. But like, yeah, here I am, I'm identifying as disabled, and I am amongst a group of my peers whom are also adoptees and disabled, many of them Korean adoptees, many of them also religious, ex-religious, whatever. And so that was just like the trifecta, quadrifecta of identities, the confluence of identities coming together was really cool. And I hope to be in more spaces, and I'm grateful for places like our show, like these conferences, like the internet, to find people with whom you identify with and can have friendships with, and normalize flying out to see your friends and crashing on a couch. If you get a cheap flight, like several $100 and you can swing it. Like, I think that's like just what I don't know why I've never thought about that, but like, yeah, you could totally just like, if it's $68 round trip and you can crash on a couch, and then
$58 to be fair.
$58.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, like that's incredible. For like, if you can do that, like in the middle of the day, like in the middle of the week, like, man, what a privilege and what joy to be able to do that. And like, distance doesn't have to feel quite as far. So
exactly.
Nathan, thanks for coming.
I was like, it was
Nathan.
I would have done it for easily 3 times that. But yeah, when you said don't spend $200 on me, I'm like, no, don't worry, I'm only spending $58. But just to say, I would come.
Nathan's like, no, you're a very cheap date.
Classic. He's like, you pay for the dinner. What was that? Send me that book. Send me the name of that book. Don't send me the book. Send me the name of the book. I'll purchase it myself.
All right.
I like that analogy, though.
figure it out.
That was good.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good capper for sure. Yeah. I wish I was going to be there tonight to have dinner with you.
I know.
Yeah.
I'd give you all
I know.
hugs
Few kisses.
and maybe some kisses. Pass through kisses from my baby.
All right.
Makes it slightly less.
Well, friends,
Anything.
thank you so much for listening to the show and for hanging out with us. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach out to us at janchishow@gmail.com or at Janchi Show on all of our social platforms. You could, if anything stirred your brain and you got you thinking, or you just want to drop a note or something, you can also leave us a voicemail at 972-677-8867 or shoot us a text, whatever is easier. We just want to talk. We want to facilitate conversation. We want to hear from you. So please do that. If you are listening on a platform where you can leave ratings or reviews, please give us the top rating and leave us a great review, or leave us a review that is like, what? Because that's fun. And then, other ways to support the show, you can head to janchishow.com/support. As for me, if you want to reach out to me individually, you can do so at KJ Roelke, wherever I want to be found on the internet.
I am N Nowak on Instagram and still on Facebook. So Nathan Nowak.
I always stare. You can't see me that I'm staring at you, but I always stare directly at you to see if you're going to go.
I should give you like the nod.
Yeah. You can catch me at Patrick in the World on all the internet places, or my other podcast at Conversation Peace Pod, because I finally got that handle. We are 5 episodes away from 100 as of today. So I've done a lot of podcasting in the last 4 years. So check that out.
Woo! I don't know where Thunder's applause is.
Yeah.
100.
Also, thank you to any of the new listeners, because I know there's a few that probably are new that maybe found out about us at Con. And so appreciate anyone listening to us new or old regulars. Happy to have you here. I know this is plugging, but Con is, speaking of debriefs, how we have been talking about debriefs, Con is having their debrief next Tuesday, the 30th. So you can sign up for that.
I thought there was a
site.
debrief for something coming soon.
Yeah. So it's usually about a month after the conference. So, yeah. So for anyone, wanting some more virtual debriefing or community, come join us.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll sorry we don't have a snack for y'all, but
Nathan and I are going to go feast tonight.
Going to feast tonight. And I'm going to Photoshop myself in.
Janchi, Nathan, destroying your mic every time.
And my eardrums.
Lord.
Everything else has been so small on my wavelength. But
oh my gosh. And then he just clips it.
It did clip.